If you're hearing this, it means the barricades have already fallen. I'm trapped in what used to be my apartment, crouched behind a door I know won't hold. The city outside is silent, except for the slow dragging footsteps and the wet, choking breaths of the things that used to be people. I never believed we'd end like this. Not starving, not in war, but hunted by our own dead. There's blood under the door frame, not mine, not yet. I keep telling myself someone will come, the military, rescue teams, anyone. But the roads have been abandoned, the sky black with smoke. No lights, no sirens, no hope. They say you can smell death before you see it. They're wrong. You hear it. The teeth, the hunger. I don't know how much longer I have. But before I'm gone, you need to know how it started. No one is coming. Before all of this, my city was loud. Not frightening loud, just alive. Cars honking at rush hour. Street vendors shouting prices. Music leaking from open windows in summer. I used to complain about it, actually. Said I wished things would just quiet down for once. Funny, right? I worked a normal job. Boring in a comforting way. Same coffee shop every morning. Same barista who drew little smiley faces in the foam. I never asked her name. I thought I'd have time. My best friend Caleb used to drag me out every Friday. Said life was too short to go straight home after work. We'd talk about everything and nothing. He always laughed too loud. Now I'd give anything to hear it again. Evenings were easy. I'd call my mom, complain about my day, she'd complain about hers. We'd argue about nothing just to fill the silence, because silence felt unnatural back then. The city lights at night used to glow like constellations, warm, safe, like the world had rules, like everything made sense. I didn't know those lights would one day be fire. I didn't know those crowded streets would become empty, except for the sound of shuffling corpses. I didn't know the people I loved would become memories I whisper to myself, just to remember what being human felt like. If I had known what was coming, no one could have known. But there were signs, and we ignored every single one. The first signs were small enough that most of us didn't pay attention. A strange news report here, an odd incident there. People collapsing on sidewalks, then getting up again as if nothing happened. The anchors on TV joked about it, calling it a sleep disorder epidemic. We laughed along. We always laughed when we were scared. At work, Caleb told me he saw a man outside our building just standing, not moving, not blinking, just staring at traffic like he was waiting for something. We brushed it off. Everyone's weird in the city, right? But then there were the screams, not constant, just occasional. Far away, like someone calling from the end of a long hallway. Too distant to feel urgent. Too real to ignore. Hospitals filled overnight. Rumors spread faster than facts. Superflu. Chemical leak. Terror attack. Everyone had a theory. No one had answers. The city still functioned. Trains still ran. Kids still went to school. But something was wrong. You could feel it, like the air was too heavy, like the shadows had grown longer. I remember a woman at the grocery store grabbing my arm and whispering, "Don't let them bite you." I laughed. I actually laughed. She looked at me like I was already dead. We told ourselves everything was fine, but deep down, we all knew. The world doesn't go quiet all at once, it happens slowly. So slowly you don't notice the silence until it's everywhere. But I should have listened. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember because I was halfway through my lunch break when the first sirens started. Not just one or two, the whole city lit up all at once. Police, ambulances, fire trucks, an orchestra of panic. People rushed toward the windows, toward the noise, not away from it. Curiosity always wins first. We crowded around the glass, staring down at the street below. A man was on the pavement, twitching like he was being electrocuted. Two paramedics knelt beside him. One leaned too close. The man bit him. Not just a bite, a tearing, ripping bite. The kind of bite you see in nature documentaries when predators feed. The paramedic screamed, staggered back, blood pouring down his arm. Nobody understood. Some people laughed nervously. Someone said it had to be drugs. Another said rabies. Someone filmed it, of course. There's always someone filming. But then the paramedic stood up. His eyes, God, his eyes were wrong, cloudy, empty. He lunged at the other medic. That's when everyone started screaming. People ran, chairs fell, someone vomited. The building alarm blared, and all I could do was stand there, frozen, watching the chaos spread like fire. Caleb grabbed my arm. "We're leaving. Now." I still hear that sentence sometimes. The certainty in his voice, like we still had time, like we were still in control. But control was gone. Out there, on the streets, people were attacking each other, tearing, biting, falling, rising again. The world didn't end in a bomb or a warning. It ended in confusion and screaming. It didn't take long, maybe a day, maybe two, before everything snapped. The supermarkets were the first to go. People didn't line up or negotiate. They broke windows with shopping carts, climbed over each other, grabbed anything that wasn't nailed down. I saw a man get beaten with a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread. That's how fast humanity evaporated. The military showed up next. Trucks rolled through the streets, loudspeakers blaring instructions no one listened to. Remain indoors. Await further announcements. As if walls and windows meant anything anymore. As if waiting ever saved anyone. Then the soldiers started to fall back. One moment they were holding the perimeter. The next, they were firing into crowds. Infected, not infected, no one could tell. And then retreating, leaving their equipment in the street. I'll never forget the sight of a tank just sitting there, abandoned, its engine still running like the world had simply walked away from itself. Roads were blocked with wrecked cars. Fires burned unchecked. The air smelled like smoke, metal, and something sweet and rotten. The city I knew, the busy sidewalks, the laughter, the neon signs, was gone, replaced by silence punctuated with distant snarls and the wet sound of teeth tearing flesh. I went building to building, searching for somewhere, anywhere safe. Locked doors, barred windows, signs that read, "No survivors inside." There's something I haven't told you yet. Something I didn't understand until it was too late. This wasn't just survival, it was hunting. And we were the prey. I didn't lose Caleb all at once. That's the part that hurts the most. We were moving through the old downtown district, weaving between abandoned cars and overturned buses. The sky was orange with firelight. Smoke clung to the air so thick it tasted like pennies. We kept low, listening for the dragging footsteps, the low moans, the sounds that meant death was close. Caleb was ahead of me, always a few steps faster. He kept looking back, making sure I was still there. He joked to keep me calm. "Man, I told you cardio matters. Bet you regret those skipped leg days now." I tried to laugh. I really tried. We heard the horde before we saw it. Dozens of them spilling out from a pharmacy like ants bursting from a cracked nest. Their movements were jerky, wrong, like puppets yanked by invisible strings. Caleb pushed me behind a car. "Don't make a sound," he whispered. But they smelled us. One broke into a sprint. Caleb stepped forward, too far forward. It hit him, teeth first, dragging him to the concrete. He screamed. I'll never forget that sound. A sound that knew it wasn't going to be saved. I tried, I did. I grabbed his arm and pulled with everything I had, but he looked at me, eyes already changing, and he let go. "Run," he said. I did. I left him there, while he was still alive, while he could still feel. I run from that moment every day, but it still catches me. I thought the outbreak was chaos, random, accidental, some freak virus that slipped through the cracks. I told myself that because the alternative was too big, too cruel to consider, but I found proof. It was in an abandoned emergency operations center on the east side. The place was ransacked, papers everywhere, overturned desks, dried blood smeared across monitors. I only went in looking for batteries. Instead, I found a folder marked Property of Federal Bioresponse Unit. Do not disclose. The infection didn't start in the streets. It started in a lab. A failed rapid regeneration serum. A cure for cell decay. A cure for death. But it didn't stop decay. It accelerated it. Made the body hungry for living cells. Made the brain forget everything except the instinct to consume. And when the first test subjects turned violent, instead of destroying the samples, they tried to contain it, study it, perfect it. The government didn't lose control. They lied. They covered it up, let it spread, hoped it would burn out quietly before the public noticed. By the time they realized it wouldn't, the city was already gone. And here's the part that keeps me awake even now. There were additional test sites, meaning this wasn't the only city, not by a long shot. I packed a bag the first night I thought leaving might work. Water, a flashlight, Caleb's lighter. We tried the highways, but every exit was blocked with burned cars and barricades. Soldiers waved rifles and shouted. Sometimes they let cars through, sometimes they shot. One checkpoint had signs, quarantine, turn back. Borders aren't lines anymore, they're kill zones. We watched convoys pass, armored vehicles hauling metal coffins, faces turned away. Planes circled and left. Radio stations read canned messages about shelters that were already ash. I thought reaching the outskirts would save us. That hope died when we found the bridge blown and bodies stacked like driftwood. Once, a convoy forced a refugee column back into a river of streets, and I watched them disappear. There is no highway out. There is only the city and the teeth at its edge. Not anymore. If you're hearing this, it means the barricades have already fallen. I'm recording because I don't know who else will, and because secrets need witnesses. I have fragments, not answers. Burned files, doctors silenced, a cure that turned into hunger. If you can leave, go now. If you can't, hide smarter than we did. Barricades slow them, but sound betrays you. Don't light fires unless necessary. Trust no official broadcast. Some messages are traps. There are routes I won't name. Naming them paints targets. That's the kind of knowledge that gets people killed. Tell your loved ones you loved them. Remember stupid jokes, arguments, midnight fries. These are proof you were human. If you find files or recordings, spread them. Maybe someone will learn. If you survive, tell the story. If you don't, let this be the warning you wished you'd heard. If you're out there, please don't let them hear you breathe.